Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, Simona, and the whole platform team to be here today. As we just have 20 minutes, I will speed up a little bit and start immediately with the talk. Just as a very quick introduction, I wanted to tell my story, how I got introduced in architecture. This is a photo of an image of the artist Walter Pichler, the Austrian artist Walter Pichler, which was a cousin of my dad. And the ones who don't know him, he was one of the driving forces in Vienna or in Austria, or even like, of course, beyond that, a radical scene of architects and artists of the 60s and 70s. So he was working together with Hans Hollein, and of course there are some famous names from this 60s, 70s scenes like Haus Rucker, Coop Himmelbau, and so on. And while I was at high school, I was doing a technical school there, and I didn't know really what to study. I thought I could study architecture, but I didn't even really know what architecture means. And exactly that period, my dad got in touch with Walter again, and there was a little project close to my hometown in Bolzano, which is called Die Schmiede, which is like a blacksmith, because my grandfather was actually a blacksmith. And so I got involved in this little project, and at that time, I understood that architecture is probably not just a technical profession, but could be something else, something more, even if today maybe I think a little bit different. But at that time, it was very funny to work with him on this furniture design of this little project. So this is actually his hometown, St. Martin in Passaio, in Burgenland of Walter, where he created like these fantastic little houses on his property for his sculpture. And he always said that the biggest prize in that sense, what he achieved, is to be like a honorable citizen of the municipality of St. Martin, because he could build like the structures for his art without any building permit. Then I went to London. I was working abroad in several studios. I also finished up in the office at Zaha Hadid, where I got known the first day, not because I was so great in the office, but rather because I used Zaha's private restroom, but that's another story. And then in 2015, I found, together with my wife Silvana, that is also here next to us, the office in Milan. So this is our team. These are our values. So we strongly believe in tradition and evolution in tradition. We think that with, especially if we connect our projects to tradition, the client can probably understand or reflect better on our design and what we're doing. So this connection is very important for us. And of course, sustainability, as we all know, the building industry, as we are here today in this fair, we are responsible for approximately 40% of CO2 emissions. So I think we, as young generation of architects, this is something that we need to have a radical approach towards it. Of course, for us it's important wherever we build, because we have projects also abroad, to understand the culture, to understand the society, and to understand the zeitgeist. So I think that our project should absolutely reflect this value wherever we build and what we do. And then, of course, research and technology is very important in our studio. So these are the projects we're currently working. The first one that I will show also later is a Headquarter. It was an international competition for Bonfiglioli, the new headquarters in Bologna that is currently under construction. We have another construction sites in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, that we're working currently. This one are some research projects that we're also then building, actually. On the top left, this is a radical approach towards tourism with tree houses that are connected to hotels or other public spaces. We're working on a project in Berlin that we will break ground soon. Another project in Austria, the Farkasee, which will also break ground soon. and another project in Abu Dhabi and in Putbus in Germany that I will show now. So what is actually context? Like context, for us context goes beyond beyond immediate physical surroundings, but context is largely shaped by different parameters. These parameters could be political, geographical, societal, economical, and of course as well vernacular as a context. So what is vernacular? This is an image of Bernard Rudowski from the 60s, who had a show at the MoMA in New York, which was called Architecture Without Architects, where he really analyzed structures from 100 years ago, where the profession of the architect there was not really a profession at the architect at that time. And so this is something, these are some images that inspire us and are basically the foundation of our research and project. And talking about vernacular architecture, this is one example. This was a competition we were winning back in 2016, where we had the office for 1 year. This is the Overholz mountain hut. It was a competition for a mountain hut on 2,000 meters. So basically we start all our projects with images like this to understand local tradition, to understand building materials, how they used to build, and to then give a contemporary interpretation of that. So this is a simple sketch of this hut, a diagram, which is basically a structure of this restaurant that is almost like a fallen tree with these 3 branches that are looking towards the 3 main mountains. So here you see the side plan. And this is then the build project. So you see the 3 mountains. We slightly rotated the whole hut because there's another main mountain behind the clouds here. So as you see again, this is the integration of the landscape. And what you see here, the very typical sloped roof, a wood construction. And then when you go on the inside, you see this contemporary interpretation that I was talking before of this open space, which there is a very typical room, which is called die Stube in the central, let's say, Alto Adige, Austria, or even Germany. And for us, this was like a contemporary interpretation of it. So you see at the same time here in plan, there is the division of the public spaces like the restaurant and the bar, and the more private spaces, and you have this wall that basically defines that spaces where everything is either above ground or underground. So these are some construction images. Of course, it's difficult to build on 2,000 meters, so you need to adapt on that. Of course, technology, what I mentioned before, to develop the structure, to test the structures. Actually, we don't use parametric software to really develop architecture, but rather to modify it somehow or to optimize it together with the engineers in very early stages. So for this project, we also designed the furniture completely. This was also funny to bring it up to 2,000 meters. Concrete sink, quite heavy. So here you see again this wall that defines the public space and the private space, and as well shows the above ground and underground with the structure, the detail that touches it, and it's somehow an example where nature is very important and where the idea is to frame nature. So these are other projects. As I mentioned before, I would say this radical approach towards tourism with new ideas. These are a project we developed with a startup in Germany, in different locations, in Austria and in Germany. Kind of treehouse structures that should blend within nature, where the core idea is really to, instead of building the classic hotel and use a lot of soil, to create these single structures that basically don't really have a concrete foundation but a screw foundation. So in theory they could be removed after it. And the concept is that these tree houses are working together with a public facility, in this case a mountain hut, that is also in our case a new way of representing a mountain hut with a more open spaces from the inside, because it's always the problem in the summer that people want to sit actually outside and there's a lot of umbrellas. So we actually The idea is to bring that people inside again, but to open the entire facade for the view. So it's basically a 180-degree view within this structure. This is the launch area on top. This is a similar project that we presented this year at the Salone del Mobile that we are currently working on with 6 sensors. Next to Kitzbühel in Austria. We call this the vertical chalet. So it's basically a wood construction as well, where you have your hotel rooms in this case that are connected to the main hotel. And again, this idea of connection with nature, that you are within this like nest-like structure on the top of the trees, and you feel this very strong connection to nature. I think that's the main idea behind this project here. Another similar project in the US we're working on in Dawson Lake, and this was an early concept, which is not a tree house, but it works in a similar way, that it's not a hotel structure, but it's our single units, the mirror houses that we actually, was our first project in the office. A structure that opens on the other side, on the east side for the guests, and then has a mirrored facade on the back to totally fade into the landscape and to be almost invisible. So of course, another issue in our office, very important, is how to reuse existing structures. So this was a competition we did, I think it was in 2017, for a hotel. We got invited to participate in this competition. What you see down there in the photo is the existing hotel, how it looked before. It's in Alto Adige, in the Seiseralm, Alpe di Siusi. Maybe a few of you know that. Quite known for skiing there, and for hiking as well. So we got invited to this competition, and the client really had a very clear idea what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a flat roof, and the neighbor just built a new hotel with a lot of saunas. So he was basically telling us we should have more saunas, that we need to have a bigger pool and all this stuff. And we said, like, no, we don't need that. And I think the only thing what we need there as a concept is to bring the mountain back in the hotel. And that's actually what we did with a simple idea of local materials, chalk. This is the Dolomitgestein, and the idea of using local wood there. So this was our competition. This was the competition entry that we then won. Thanks also to the young kids of it, because I think they were quite ready for something new and something contemporary. This is the built hotel that opens towards the village, and then on the other side, south, the rooms, the suites that are facing towards the mountain. So we wanted to create a very transparent building. What you see here in the back is the church of the village. So a very transparent building that opens towards the mountains, and also with the interiors to create this warm feeling, but a contemporary interpretation of a certain alpine style. And it was also very nice to work with the son of the client, who's a photographer in Geneva, that did these amazing artworks for the public spaces and the single rooms. So I'm not going to show plans here right now. So what is important is this exoskeleton element. So for us, structure is very important. Structure for us is beauty. And in this case, you see this very simple sketch, this concept of the north facade versus the south facade. The exoskeleton that opens creates loggias. And at the same time, with these loggias, is a self-shading system. Here's some other images of the interiors, the suites, these open spaces, a certain minimalism in these rooms. Again, to work with local stones, this rough cut, water cut in certain elements like the reception desk or the bar. These are things that we are basically interested. Also here we had like 3 months of construction. I think that works just in Südtirol, Alto Adige, or maybe in Austria as well, I guess, Germany. We did the same conversion of our studio here in Milan that took us like 5 months. Much, much smaller, of course. So here are some construction images and the final result. Yes. A similar project, also competition, we were winning. Almost all our entries are winning competitions. On Also a hotel structure where we played with the scale and the idea of vernacular architecture and the contemporary interpretation of it again. So we see like this local structures behind the hotel where we took the same proportion and we were analyzing local patterns and transformed this kind of patterns into a structure again, into again exoskeleton element that then refers also to the profession actually of the family that comes from agriculture. So this was also something that inspired us for this facade. This is the final project. Also here we had like 4 months of construction. That was last year during the pandemic. So thumbs up to all the teams that were involved there in the construction. So we have again this contrast with dark wood facade on the outside with these details of this curvilinear exoskeleton facade. And then on the inside, there is this contrast again with the bright wood, local wood for the bar spaces, the restaurant. Here we have the pool. Also here for the bar, we're choosing like a local stone. And by the way, we just won a couple of our last weekend an international prize for that hotel as well. Here you see like some rooms. Also the rooms have some spas inside the room, as you see here in the picture below. The pool. And when we talk about tradition, like here we are in Berlin, we're working with a developer on different projects on a private lake outside of Berlin. What is very interesting here, as I mentioned before, is the history, which is of course something very important to us. So this is actually a very interesting history of this lake, which is called Stienitzsee outside Berlin, where there are buildings like this one here that the client converted into a museum. And this was a Ziegelei, so at that time they produced like bricks. And the first project we are doing there is a private villa that is exactly also related to this material of the brick. So we are creating this villa out of brick. We analyze different densities and depths to work with this brick. And of course, to create like an open facade towards the lake. And this is another project we're working in Austria currently at the Farkasee, also very nice location where in this case the transparency is very important to us to create this residential development. Of course, this amazing view towards the landscape, the nature. So these are some images of the penthouse, what you see from there. We are probably breaking ground in January with this project here. So again, this idea also with the facade, with the material to create like, to take like a local stone, a local marble for this project. Another project in Germany, Putbus. I go a bit faster because I think then our time is quite limited today. And so we'll let free space for the next speaker. But also here the context, the history is very important of this existing building, which is kind of what we see here on the diagram on the left, which is a Pädagogium, which at that time was like a university building, and it's an extension to it with a mixed-use development of a hotel and residential in this case. So the idea was to bring in the park, the adjacent park, to create these courtyards inside and to work with the facade, with the proportions of the existing building to create openings and to work with that history in that case. So this, as you will see here, is the final project. In front you see the existing building, and we try to work with these saddle roofs to extend them to create these 2 internal piazzas and to work in the facade exactly with the same proportion of the existing building, but just blowing everything up that it becomes again a visible structure, an exoskeleton structure with much more light. This was an installation we have done at the Salone del Mobile. It was like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2018. It was a pavilion made of 1,600 wooden sticks with a weight of almost like 2.5 tons in the center of Milan. So it was like this wing-like structure that filters the light, and you could actually sit down there, these benches, which was People really like that because they're partying a lot during Salon del Mobile, so they had like a chance to sit down in this structure and enjoy this playfulness of light and shadow. This is a competition we were also winning that we actually also see there on the panels. I wanted to show a little video. This is the competition entry we did for the Bonfiglioli headquarters in Milan, which is one of the biggest mechatronic companies in Europe. We were able to win that competition, and now there should be a video that starts here. Maybe we need to put this sound a bit up. The new Bonfiglioli headquarters, located in the outskirts of Bologna, Italy, arises from the need to create an efficient and a functional office building that expresses the proud history of the Italian company. The headquarter is the last missing piece in a larger development called EVO, with the new production spaces and offices. I think that our aim was to create an open building that connects people and at the same time has a radical approach towards sustainability with an intelligent geometry. Starting point of the project was to introduce the Courtyard typology of the existing master plan buildings into our massing. The Courtyard has a green garden at the ground floor and creates natural ventilation. As a reaction to the local sunlight conditions, by sloping the building's roof, the north-facing facade are enlarged to maximize the workspaces with indirect natural light conditions. At the same time, this reduces the south-facing facades, which improves internal comfort, and almost a celebration of the indirect north light expressed by the geometry of the building. South-facing facades and roof of the headquarter features a second skin made of a continuous pleated custom aluminum mesh. The second skin filters the harsh light to obtain a comfortable interior work environment, while recalling the metal shavings that are produced daily as a byproduct from the company's supply chain.
The structural concept is based on the perfect integration with the architectural intent and design. This is particularly evident in the exoskeleton, which is at the same time one of the main structural element component of the building. It is also an element that characterizes quite strongly the architectural concept. This envelope becomes then the roof, which is almost a fifth facade.
The Bonfiglioli Headquarter is an exemplary project in terms of sustainability and environmental design. The low-carbon design, achieving a self-sufficiency of the building in terms of energy. Second, is the great attention to the health and well-being in this post-pandemic era, and the third is the application of circular economy principles in order to maintain the capacity of the building to be adapted to the future needs of the client.
If we look at this sloped roof, on each level we have a terrace, so you can basically from every level go to the terrace and have like a break, have like informal meetings there, which we believe is really increasing the quality of these office spaces. And at the same time, you have this beautiful views towards the San Luca sanctuary and the city of Bologna. Yes, as explained in the video, it's really something that we like to approach. In this case, we won a competition together with Arup, and it was really since the beginning to develop an intelligent geometry. In this case, a celebration of the North light in these offices, and then this idea to shelter, to filter the light in with the harsh south light with this pleated aluminum mesh. And so you have this open north facade where we have all the office spaces, as we can see here. And then with, again, this exoskeleton to have maximum flexibility on the inside of the floor plan. Then, of course, this courtyard that works perfectly for ventilation, natural ventilation of the offices. And then the south facade, which is completely filtered with this pleated aluminum mesh. Yes, with this project, we broke ground a couple of weeks ago. I think the last two projects, very quick, is a project in Abu Dhabi, as I talked before, about context and culture which is very, very interesting, of course, to work in different locations. In this case, this very strong cultural identity of the Middle East, and we had, I think, a very interesting client that also was pretty much open to experiment with this villa. Basically, it's a villa that is, as a concept, has a water element, a pool on the inside, and on the outside it's filtered with this mesh rabia, which is a very typical element in the Middle East. So you have this filtered light on the outside and a more closed facade, and then on the inside it's opening. So this is some construction site images. Also here we try to create an intelligent geometry. Of course we have sunlight that in this case is an enemy. So through this customized custom mesh rabia, we can have this effect again of filtering the light. These are some images of the skylight that then will be filtered on top with internal atrias and courtyards. This is another project we're working there, always in Abu Dhabi. And this is the last project that I show today, which is like, I think, another very important topic in our office, which is like landscape. And this villa, of course, is surrounded by a fantastic landscape. And the owner of a winery was asking us to design a villa for the daughter in this very unique location in Alto Adige. And actually, the main driver for this project is a driver that is actually visible, and it's the wind, because there's a very strong wind that comes from Lago di Garda, which is called Ora. And if you are on the top of this hill next to Termeno, which is in the south of Alto Adige, we try to create a villa that is almost like a ribbon-like structure that emerges out of the landscape and creates like an internal courtyard that can protect you from the wind, as you can see here in these diagrammatic images. And at the same time, the villa is almost invisible from the village town. So these are some construction images. Of course, the reference as material-wise, we took it like this chalk as the inspiration for this concrete roof from the setback walls of the vineyard. So it was basically this continuation of the landscape then on top. And these are some construction images. And then the final images. And we just finished this villa a couple of months ago. Sorry, this was a bit fast. So this is, you see the village town, some interior spaces. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Peter Pichler. I don't know if there's someone from the public who wants to make some questions. Non so se ci sia qualche domanda da parte del pubblico. Non fate i timidi. Niente, ok.
So thank you. I have some question about Bonfiglioli. When will it start? When will it end the project? Because I come from Bologna.
Okay. When we finished the project, actually we already started, like we broke ground in September, and in theory should be finished at the end of next year. Yes. But yes, that's actually what is planned.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.